Hey, what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? I have an open invitation, but you're telling me go get lost. I don't wanna see your face. Yeah, what the hell? So why don't we stay out till the morning light? Cause two wrongs can make a right. We're just doing what we feeling right now. Some Chardonnay, we camp in the parking lot. Leave traces of plastic cups. We're just doing what we feeling right now. So what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? Always waiting for the one, but I got news for you. I'm the best that you can get, so what the hell? Yeah, what the hell? So what the hell? So what the hell? What are you waiting for now? And what the hell? You're pretending that you like somebody else, like you got boys waiting in line to take you home. But tell the truth, you'll spend the night alone. Let's be alone. So why don't we stay out till the morning light? Cause two wrongs can make a right. We're just doing what The night has come, it's cold and losing my control. Your light is gone, and lonely darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation. We got no relation. It's crazy. Your light is gone, and lonely darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation. We got no relation. It's crazy. And it goes like
Good morning, Daytona Milton Keynes, and welcome to the first round of the Super Champs. We're about to get on the way with our D-Max practice session. I'm seeing a lot of new drivers, a very, very big field indeed, and I'm a little bit out of breath because I've been running around the circuit trying to get some cameras set up, and we do have a few cameras raring to go. I'm seeing a few new drivers joining in to the D-Max session, one of which is the current Saudi champion, Matthew Glazebrook, and we'll see how he can do on his first outing today. But we are now green on the exit of the pit lane, which means our carts are heading out onto circuit for our practice session. So the way this works for anyone new to Daytona Milton Keynes, we have our practice session, which will lead directly into the first heat of the day. We will then have our Saudi practice session, which will lead into their first heat of the day. We'll have the second heats for both the D-Maxes and the Saudis before heading into our finals for each category. Both heavies and lights will be out at the same time, but the Saudis and the D-Maxes will not be out simultaneously. So it is just the D-Maxes out on circuit at the moment. And as per usual, a warm welcome to anyone tuning in, whether you're here trackside to support your friends or family, or if you are tuning in online through YouTube. For those who don't know, you can watch this all back when you get home, or you can watch it live trackside on the YouTube stream on the Milky Cereal YouTube channel. Should be under the name of Daytona Milton Keynes Super Champs Season 3, Round 1. So our first couple of drivers round the final corner to start their first flying laps. We've got Jamie Gooden and Dom Balasatis, second and third in this train of karts. I'm not sure who is at the very front of this queue of karts, though. Now I'm just looking through some of the names, so a warm welcome to the likes of, we've got Christian Mitchell joining in for the first time. I think it was an AJ Miller. Carl Stevens as well. So first round of the championship, seeing a lot of fresh faces. We're going to be seeing our drivers heading down the back straight towards turn 9, where we do have a little camera that can catch some of the action. So you'll see the karts flying through turn 9 and then down into turn 10 and then into turn 11, two of the overtaking spots available here at Daytona Milton Keynes. Jack Stewart has closed up to the back of Dom Balasatis as they head through turn 10. And across the line. So let's see what the timings are looking like. It's Jack Stewart who is currently topping the timing sheets with a 107.6. 4/10 clear of the Anonymous in the 107 car. Then we've got Matthew Glazebrook, Dom Balasatis, Miles Bate, Carl Stevens, Sebastian Musica, AJ Watson. So I'm going to guess the 107 Anonymous car is probably Jamie Gooden. It would be a little bit surprising if he was in an Anonymous car. Let's just have a quick look down. No, Jamie Gooden is currently down in P17, so his last lap not a particularly quick one. Lewis Barton jumping up to second in the times in kart number 120, a 108.0, only 3/10 shy of Jack Stewart. And Jack Stewart now trying to hunt down Dom Balasatis at the front of this little train of karts. James Bedison, your reigning D-Max champion, is currently down in P4. As the 107 Anonymous car jumps to the top of the times, and that is the drive at the very front of the field that we are seeing heading down the hill towards turn 5 currently. Dom Balasatis, though, has been able to beat that time, a 106.4 coming through, half a second clear of Jack Stewart. Then comes Matthew Glazebrook, followed by our 107 Anonymous car. Jamie Gooden was up in P5, but has been promptly pipped by James Bedison and Barry Morris. A very, very close field. We're seeing 1.5 seconds separating our top 10 or so drivers. Ian Riley having a very impressive lap in the heavyweight class. Third overall, top of the heavyweights with a 107.1 less than 2 seconds separating your top 13, which is incredibly, incredibly impressive. Who is the driver in Kart 107? So I've just checked with race control. Kart 107, that is none other than James King himself. So flying is Mr. King as Matthew Glazebrook improved his lap to a 106.4. But Dom Balasaitis is already into the 105, so 105.9. Just a reminder that this is the practice session. So the results of this session do not determine the grid for either of the heats. Those have already been decided, and our drivers will be starting in a random position for both of those heats, such that their average starting position is the same for everyone. Jack Stewart and Matthew Glazebrook currently separated by 1/100th of a second. It is Glazebrook from Stewart, and then it is a further 5/10 back to James King in P4, who is 1 second off Dom Balasaitis. But then from James King all the way down to Miles Bate in P13, you're looking at just 0.8 of a second. It is very, very close indeed. We're also seeing the return of Gareth Baldwin to the championship, currently running in P8, second in the heavyweight class, as we have an improvement from the 105 as well, a 106.6, but it is still just Dom Balasaitis who has been able to squeeze his way into the 105s. I believe the lap record here at Daytona Milton Keynes is something like a 105.3, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. For some reason I'm thinking 103, but I don't think we are 2 seconds off that kind of pace. So here come some of our drivers then through turn 9 and down into turn 10. That looks to be Kuba Wozniak's race suit, but I'm not seeing him on our timing screens at the moment. Aidan Miller also making the jump up into the D-Maxes. Putting in a very strong show is Aidan Miller, who finished top 3 in our Saudi Championship last year in the heavyweights, behind Charlie Fenton, and now is right behind Barry Morris, almost setting an identical lap time to the former Saudi champion. Jack Stewart does improve, as does Dom Balasaitis. So a 105.8 for Balasaitis. Stewart a 105.9. James King a 106.2, just 0.4 off. Then you got Matthew Glazebrook and the 105 anonymous kart, separated by just a few hundredths of a second, before we have a 0.4 drop down to Lewis Barton. Sebastian Musica is absolutely rapid. So Sebastian Musica, who I don't think got a top 3 last year or got a single third place finish, has been absolutely flying in this practice session and is currently the quickest or second quickest heavyweight out there. I always forget whether James King is in the heavyweight or in the lightweight class, but a very impressive time of a 106.8, season running in P7, just a second shy of the lap time set by Dom Balasaitis on the previous lap, as Dom Balasaitis rounds the final corner. And he's got James King hunting him down, followed by Jack Stewart and Matthew Glazebrook across the line. It is a 105.3 for Dom Balasaitis, so the times are continuing to improve in our practice session. Jack Stewart does also improve a 105.8, but it is not quite enough. James King also squeezes his way into the 105s. Matthew Glazebrook with a 106.2 in P5, as Sebastian Musica jumps up into P6 with a 106.7. So Dom Balasaitis setting the timing screens alight in this practice session, and was absent for a couple of the rounds of last season, which allowed the likes of James Bedison and Jamie Tyler Gooden to pull away in their own little championship battle. And this season, I'm sure he'll be thinking, right, none of that. We're going to be here from start to finish and show everyone who is boss, the former N35 champion. James King now coming under a little bit of pressure from Jack Stewart as they come over the line, and you'll see them heading through turn 1 and up into turn 2. James King with a black suit and a black helmet. Matthew Glazebrook, white helmet directly behind him, heading into the hairpin of turn 4, and then back down the hill towards our camera into the long right-hander of turn 5. No improvements that time round for Dom Balasatis. Jack Stewart does improve with a 105.8. No improvements from the drivers behind. Matthew Glazebrook, though, does improve in P5, a 106.1. Improvement from Lewis Barton, 106.49. James Bedison currently down in at P7, the reigning D-Max champion, not having a fantastic start to this practice session so far. Still Dom Balasatis at the top of the times, lapping in the 105s, a 105.7 last time round, as Barry Morris now has someone directly behind him who goes up his inside into the final corner. I just want to see if Barry Morris is racing in the heavyweights this championship. He is indeed. He does have one of those yellow luminescent armbands. If you see anyone with those bright armbands on their arm, that does mean that they are racing in the heavyweight class. And then later on in the championship, sometimes we give out orange armbands, which signifies that a driver is the current championship leader. Puts a nice little target on their back. Jack Stewart still running in second, almost improving on his 105.8. Matthew Glazebrook jumps up to third with a 105.8 himself, now ahead of James King in third. Then comes the 105 anonymous kart, a 105.9, so 6/10 separating your top 5, 1.6 seconds separating your top 13 karts. It is incredibly close. 3.3 seconds separating a total of 22 drivers. Jamie Tyler Gooden crosses the line. Can he improve on his personal best? And the answer to that is no. So Jamie Tyler Gooden not having a very happy practice session. In fact, Joseph Fletcher up into the D-Maxes. I'm trying to remember if he was racing in the D-Maxes last season. I believe he was. But he is, at the moment, down in P13. Only 1.6 seconds off Dom Balasatis. And again, super close across the field. James Bedison improving on his last time lap with a 106.3, just within a second of Dom Balasatis. In the heavyweights, I believe it is James King who is the quickest, ahead of Sebastian Musica, then Barry Morris, Ian Riley, and Gareth Baldwin. So a tenth between 4 heavyweight drivers, but James King just that little step ahead of everyone else, as Jack Stewart on his final lap puts in an absolute stonking lap time of a 105.5 and just a tenth shy of Dom Balasatis' 105.3. But the checkered flag is out and is waving, so we are going to be stopping all of our drivers on the run down towards that long left-hander of turn 9. We will be gridding them up on the approach into turn number 10 before getting this race underway. But it's absolutely wonderful to see such a big field in the D-Max category. 22 drivers, and hopefully it stays this packed throughout the rest of the season. We should have a lot of racing, and it also means that when we have these heats with some drivers starting further down the field, it makes it that little bit more difficult for them to carve through the field. So you don't have someone starting at the back, which is like, let's say, 8th, being able to storm to the front. They have to work from, well, something like 22nd. Which just gives that little bit more pressure to make every single move as quickly as possible, not to make any mistakes. And if you have a bad heat, you could be all the way down the back of the field, down in P22. And it means that any effect of your heats is going to have a big result for where you're going to be starting your finals, potentially even a B final before an A. As it is going to be Dom Balasatis who is starting this one on pole. ahead of Jack Stewart, and then Matthew Glazebrook. All right. So I've just had some confirmation. Apologies, I was slightly mistaken. We are going straight into a sprint race, which will be followed by a feature race. So those times in practice are actually qualifying lap times, and they will be determining the results or the grid order for this race. So a very impressive lap time then for Don Balasatis. We'll be seeing him on pole with Jack Stewart alongside. Matthew Glazebrook and James King will be making up the second row of the grid. So Jamie Tyler-Gooden, I have now seen him on our leaderboards in P6 with a 106.1, a tenth shy of the 105 anonymous kart, and 2/10 clear of his former championship rival, James Bedison, who I'm sure will be his championship rival once again for Season 3 of the Daytona Super Champs. And there is James Bedison making his way around at turn 9 to join the rest of the field on the approach into turn 10. So you just see him coming across your shot. Then Lewis Barton will slot in behind Jamie Tyler-Gooden. Very quick driver, Lewis Barton, has seen a good amount of success back in the N35 Championship. Made the step up to D-Max's last season, but only participated in a few races. We'll see whether he's able to commit to the whole championship this season. Just waiting to grid up all of our D-Maxes, and then we will be getting the first race of the day underway here at Milton Keynes. And for anyone watching over on YouTube, if you want to get involved with some of the action and join in for a few races, either in the D-Maxes or in the Sodis, you can find a link to the Daytona website in the description. As Sebastian Musica, dearie, dearie me, a spin gridding up. I think we just missed that one on camera, unfortunately. You're very lucky, Sebastian. So now Barry Morris, Ian Riley, Gareth Baldwin. Three very, very quick drivers. All of whom have, I believe, won rounds in the D-Max category, or at the very least been on podiums. I think Barry Morris, having had his first season in the D-Maxes in Season 2, or at the very least a few rounds, was on the podium a couple of times, but I don't think was actually able to take that top step. Maybe today will be the difference for him. Last couple of drivers being gridded up. The last few drivers being gridded up at the back of the field. Just 2 more to go, and then we are ready to get underway with our first race of Season 3. Balasaitis and Stewart lining up on the front row of the grid for, I think, what has to be one of the biggest D-Max fields, at least I've seen, while working in the comms. And everyone is now gridded up, and we are ready to go racing. So just getting all of our marshals into position. And then we will be starting up our D-Max engines, getting them roaring to life once more for their effectively second session. I like to call it a continuation of the first session. We've had the thumbs up, and the D-Max engines have started up. So we get ready to go racing for the first round of the Daytona Milton Keynes Super Champs Season 3 of 2023. Dom Balasaitis, Jack Stewart on the front row of the grid. 2 drivers who have seen much success at this circuit. Jack Stewart, a former D-Max champion and a former D-Max lap record holder as well. Here they come into the final corner, and when does Dom Balasaitis want to pull the pin and get our race underway? Across the line we go to start the opening lap. Dom Balasaitis leads. Glazebrook up the inside of Jack Stewart as the drivers skim the tyre barriers on the exit of turn 1. Tyler Gooden goes up the inside as well of Jack Stewart, up into 3rd place. Can't get through on Glazebrook, who is up into 2nd position. Everyone has been able to make their way through the opening couple of corners without too much drama. As fighting back is Jack Stewart up the inside of Tyler Gooden he goes, and that might compromise Tyler Gooden. James King directly behind as we head towards the carousel of turn 6, with Dom Balasaitis leading by about 3 kart lengths over Matthew Glazebrook. They'll head down the hill towards turn 8 and out of our view momentarily before they come back up the hill towards that long sweeping left-hander of turn 9, and we'll see exactly how the order has changed once they do cross the start-finish line. Here is Jamie Tyler Gooden. He's already closed in onto the back of Matthew Glazebrook. He does not want his former N35 rival of Dom Balasaitis to drive off into the sunset. James Bedison has had an absolutely fantastic start. He is up into 4th place, but Jack Stewart fights back. Up the inside he goes through the final corner in the battle for P4. As they come across the line, it's going to be neck and neck, but it is going to be James Bedison who makes the move stick, and up into P4 he goes. Further down the order, that's Gareth Baldwin going up the inside of turn 1. Barry Morris has dropped right down the order, along with Ian Riley. So the pair of them, who started right up at the front of the heavyweight class, have dropped well and truly down the order. As Jack Stewart's fighting back, gets a switchback on James Bedison on the exit of turn 5. Is now going to have the inside heading into the carousel of turn 6, which is allowing the leaders to pull away. Jamie Tyler Gooden still fighting desperately with Matthew Glazebrook. Dom Balasaitis continuing to extend his lead at the front of the field. Stream of D-Max karts make their way through the hairpin off turn 7. Dom Balasaitis comes back into view, heading into that long left-hander of it. No, he has to sit behind this time round. Then comes Jack Stewart back ahead of James Bedison. Tyler Gooden tucks in behind Glazebrook through the final corner, doesn't go for a cheeky send, and decides just to work together for another couple of corners. Can Jack Stewart close into this two-way squabble for 2nd place, leading a whole train of drivers? James Bedison, then comes James King, Lewis Barton, Sebastian Musica, and the 105 Anonymous kart that started this race, I believe, up in P5, but has dropped a few positions back since. Dom Balasaitis at the front of the field, a 105.9 last time round. The rest of the field in the 107. So Dom Balasaitis taking full advantage of this momentary clear air as Glazebrook forced to go defensive. Tyler Gooden looking for the switchback coming out of turn 7. They're neck and neck heading down the hill towards turn 8. We won't be able to see whether Tyler Gooden can make the move into turn 8 until they come onto the back straight And maybe Glazebrook is going to have to look for the switchback. Here is Don Balasaitis heading into turn 9. It is still Matthew Glazebrook holding on to second ahead of Jamie Tyler-Gooden. The rear end just stepping out through turn 9. It's almost flat, one of the trickiest corners on the circuit. Tyler-Gooden's got to run. He's on the outside heading into the final corner. Glazebrook forced to go defensive. Tyler-Gooden's going to look for the switchback, but can he get the drive? Glazebrook's trying to cover off the inside, but Tyler-Gooden's up the inside through turn 1, and they're still side by side. Jack Stewart now closing in. Glazebrook slams the door shut into the chicane, holds on to second place, and Jack Stewart now sends it up the inside of Tyler-Gooden into turn 4. Jack Stewart up into third place, taking full advantage of the squabble between Tyler-Gooden and Glazebrook, but Jamie Tyler-Gooden sends it right back up the inside of Jack Stewart. That opens up the door for James Pedersen to get Stewart on the exit of turn 5. So the winner of this entire group is, well, Don Balasaitis, because he's now about 4 seconds clear of the rest of the field. And also James Pedersen gaining a position over Jack Stewart. I don't know if he's held on to that position. We'll see when they make their way on to the back straight in a couple of moments' time. 3.5 seconds was the gap between Balasaitis and Glazebrook the last time they came over the line. That gap is going to be up to about 5 seconds. And there is no question that Jamie Tyler-Gooden is definitely quicker than Matthew Glazebrook. He's already caught right back up to the rear end of the current Sodi champion. James Pedersen is ahead of Jack Stewart. James King trying to tag along in this little train of carts, followed by Lewis Barton. I'm just trying to see if I can recognize who that is behind Lewis Barton. It might be Nate. It looks like Nathan James's helmet, but I don't think it is. I haven't seen him around the circuit today. But crazy battling all around the field, and I'm sure there's even more battling happening down in the midfield, as that is Jamie Tyler-Gooden. He's finally made the move on Matthew Glazebrook. So Jamie Tyler-Gooden is up into second place. It's taken him a while. We have 11 minutes left, but Don Balasaitis has well and truly checked out at the front of the field. The gap was 4.4 seconds last time round, and Tyler-Gooden is going to have his work absolutely cut out if he wants to bring down that deficit to Balasaitis, who was rapid throughout all of practice and qualifying. Attention paddock, can all Sodi drivers please get themselves kitted up and to the end of pit lane so we can get you seated into your carts and raring to go, so that once this race ends we can get you out on track as soon as possible, rather than having to wait for all of these carts to come into the pit lane. As that's Ian Riley going around the outside of Barry Morris. He can't quite make the move work, and now he's coming under pressure himself. Around the outside goes one of our carts with a very nice blue suit and orange helmet. Which I believe is AJ Watson, who is having a very impressive drive for his debut showing here at Daytona Milton Keynes. Jamie Tyler-Gooden last time round, a 105.7. He's lost a tenth to Don Balasaitis, and the gap is now 4.7 seconds between your leading two. James Pedersen is closing in onto Glazebrook as well in this battle for P3. And right behind James Pedersen is Jack Stewart. Here they come through turn 9 and down into the hairpin, the slowest corner on the circuit, turn 10, which is just narrowly slower than the hairpin of turn 8 at the far end of the circuit. Pedersen taking a slightly tighter line through that final corner. That's going to allow Jack Stewart to really stick to his rear end as they head through turn 1 and up into turns 2 and 3. As Barry Morris has a look over his shoulder, sees Ian Riley heading into the final corner. It's still Morris ahead as AJ Watson tries to go up the inside. Has to back out of the move and slot in behind this time round. Don Balasaitis, a 106.1. Jamie Tyler-Gooden, a 105.6. Well, if Tyler-Gooden can keep that kind of pace advantage going half a second a lap, maybe he might have enough time to reel in Don Balasaitis over the remaining 8 minutes in this race. Here comes Balasaitis through the long left-hander of turn 9. Then it's Jamie Tyler-Gooden, who, now that he's got past Matthew Glazebrook doing a decent job to stay within somewhat of a touching distance, because when Tyler-Gooden was behind, he was catching up to Glazebrook rapidly. Jack Stewart is back ahead of James Pedersen, so those two have been changing positions every single lap. And now it is Stewart ahead of Pedersen once again. The reigning champion versus a former D-Max champion. sitting in third and fourth position. Sebastian Musica having a phenomenal drive currently in P8. He's 2 and a bit seconds behind Lewis Barton, 2 seconds ahead of Carl Stevens, but it is not a shabby drive in the slightest from young Sebastian Musica. Just another reminder to our paddock, can all of our Sodi drivers please get themselves to the end of the pit lane so we can get you into your karts. Seeing a few familiar drivers in pit lane. I think we might have a pretty good Sodi race to come. There goes Don Balasatis through the hairpin. He has a little look over his shoulder. The last time round, he lost 3/10 to Jamie Tyler Gooden. The gap is now 4.0 seconds. And maybe Balasatis is starting to feel a little bit of pressure. It still has a large lead. It's about the gap of the second straight. Last time round, 2 more tenths gained by Jamie Tyler Gooden, who sets the new fastest lap of the race, a 105.3. 3.8 seconds now behind Don Balasatis. Matthew Glazebrook into the 105s as well. He sets his new personal best of the race, a 105.8. Jack Stewart, a 105.6. James Bedison, a 106.2 last time around. As that's, I believe, Ian Riley going up the inside of one of our drivers as he closes in onto Barry Morris. And now Matthew Glazebrook has Jack Stewart directly behind him, heading through turn 9. So Jack Stewart has finally closed in on to third position. Through the final corner they go, and there is plenty of time left for Jack Stewart to make a move. Maybe not enough time to close into Jamie Tyler Gooden, who takes another 4 tenths out of Don Balasatis, a 105.2, the fastest lap of the day from Jamie Tyler Gooden. But this might be a classic case of too little, too late for the man who finished second place in the D-Max Championship last season. He took James Bedison right down to the wire, but in the end, just couldn't pip him on the final day. So 3.4 seconds between the leading duo. As Ian Riley is right behind Barry Morris as they head into the carousel. Just trying to double check what positions those two are in. As here goes up the inside, Jack Stewart through the left-hander. Glazebrook takes it defensive through the penultimate corner, but that's allowing Jack Stewart to pull up directly alongside. He's going to try to hang it all the way around the outside of the final corner. That's not going to work. Or is it? Because he's got a great drive out of the final corner, side by side through turn 1. Glazebrook leaves in space, and they're still side by side heading into the chicane, but Matthew Glazebrook holds on to P3, but Jack Stewart still fighting, gets the switch back on the exit of the chicane, but finally has to slot back in behind, and this has allowed James Bedison to really close in once again, with James King not far behind at all. Barry Morris and Ian Riley currently battling for P14 overall, but I do believe that is, I think it's about P3 in the heavyweight class. Not entirely sure who is in the heavies and who is in the lights. As here comes Don Balasatis, Jamie Tyler Gooden, but all eyes on this battle for P3. Matthew Glazebrook still, Jack Stewart directly behind. Through turn 9 they go, and down into turn 10. Jack Stewart just can't get his cart up the inside. But I tell you what, James Bedison is really closing into these two. Last time round, Jamie Tyler Gooden, wow, another 105.2. He's taken nearly 7 tenths out of Don Balasatis, and the gap is at 2.6 seconds between your leading duo of karts. Matthew Glazebrook putting in a phenomenal drive to keep Jack Stewart behind for so long. He kept Jamie Tyler Gooden behind him for quite a while, and I think Don Balasatis might owe him a little burger after this race, because he has well and truly helped Don Balasatis to get that extra foot up in this battle for the race. When Jack Stewart, though, fighting with Glazebrook as they head into turn 7. Glazebrook forced to go defensive, goes a little wide on exit, and Jack Stewart looking for the switchback with James Bedison directly behind the duo of karts. Barry Morris has been able to stretch out a couple of kart lengths ahead of Ian Riley. As here is Balasatis with Tyler Gooden closing in. Still Glazebrook somehow holding on to third place. One of the best defensive drives I've seen in the D-Max category. And we're seeing a fantastic one right at the get-go of the championship. As Lewis Barton is defending himself from one of our anonymous carts, the 105. Holding on to the position for now. Currently battling for P7 as they come over the line. As Jack Stewart has finally done it. He's gone up the inside of Glazebrook through the hairpin of turn 4. They'll come back into view. And James Pedersen is trying to follow through. But no, Glazebrook has once again somehow held on to P3. Every time Jack Stewart seems to get a run, Glazebrook finds some way of holding on to the position. And we only have a couple of minutes left in the race. Another 105.3 for Jamie Tyler Gooden. But Don Balasatis says his new personal best of a 105.4, so only loses a tenth on that last lap. As I think Don Balasatis has started to turn up the heat now that he's realised Jamie Tyler Gooden is well and truly closing in. Maybe taking a few more risks, as here's Jack Stewart up the inside of Glazebrook. But this means Glazebrook has the inside heading through the hairpin of turn 10. Again, Jack Stewart gets the switchback on the outside into the final corner. Again, looks for the switchback on that final corner. Glazebrook, maybe he's left the door open, but not enough. And he holds on to third place once again. And Jack Stewart, you can see just how frustrated he's getting. He knows that James Pedersen is directly behind him, and he cannot allow Pedersen through, not after he worked so hard to get past the reigning D-Max champion. So Jack Stewart with James Pedersen and James King directly behind him in a four-way battle for P3. Both Balasatis and Tyler Gooden 105.4s last time round. As I think the checkered flag is being prepared. Don Balasatis, he was phenomenal in qualifying, and while in the race maybe Jamie Tyler Gooden has had a slight pace advantage, Balasatis has not put a single foot wrong. A fantastic drive to take the checkered flag in the first race of the season. Jamie Tyler Gooden will take second. And here is Matthew Glazebrook, who has put in an absolutely sterling defensive drive. He rounds the final corner. He'll take P3 ahead of Jack Stewart. And then will come James Pedersen, followed by James King. And then Lewis Barton, just about in a drag to the line, takes P7 over the 105 anonymous kart. And then we have Sebastian Misika. What a drive for Sebastian to take P9. Phenomenal stuff from him. Ahead of Carl Stevens, Joseph Fletcher in P11. That's a cracker from young Joseph. Then we got Gareth Baldwin, Aidan Miller, Barry Morris, Ian Riley, Miles Bate, AJ Watson, Ashley Mason-King actually pipping AJ Watson to the line by just 0.05 of a second. And then we have the 117 anonymous kart ahead of Christian Mitchell, Simon Mitchell, and Charlie Bone. So with that, after our first race of the day, we are going to take a short break, and we will be back in a moment as we get ready to head into our first Sodi race of the day. So see you all in a short while. Welcome back everyone to Daytona Milton Keynes. We now have our Sodies underway for their practice/qualifying. Seeing a few very familiar faces. Callum Poulter, Charlie Fenton, two drivers to definitely watch out for today. Adam Green as well, who, if I'm not mistaken, came third or fourth in the lightweight championship last season. Harry Asher as well. Tom Illingworth, I've seen that name before, I'm sure. Finley Anderson as well, a new driver showing up today. And we also have Harry Clifford, which I'm wondering if that is any relation to Callie Clifford, who was racing in the Junior Sprint League in some rounds of Season 1 and was very, very impressive as well. But sadly, we didn't see much of her in Season 2. So, just 10 drivers in our Sodi class, which will mean that things are a bit more manageable for me up in the commentary box. A few less battles out on circuit, which means that we're less likely to miss any overtakes that do eventually occur. So waiting for the first couple of lap times to come in. Here is Callum Poulter making his way through the hairpin of turn 10 and into the final corner of turn 11. One of the quickest drivers in the Sodi karts is Callum Poulter, picking up a few wins at the back end of last season. Didn't race in the entire championship, which is why he wasn't in the fight for the championship. And Matthew Glazebrook had a slightly easier time to take that title. But now Callum Poulter, without the challenge of Matthew Glazebrook, probably will be eyeing up this championship with glee, unless maybe we see the return of the likes of Adam Barras to the fold. First lap then for Callum Poulter, a 1:08.1, 4/10 clear of Harry Asher and Adam Green. Those are two drivers that I think might really step things up. Harry Asher jumping up from the Junior Sprint League into the, well, formerly the N35s and now into the Sodi category. Has been getting that little bit quicker and quicker with every passing round, and maybe this season can mount a challenge to Callum Poulter. We'll see how he gets on against Adam Green. Charlie Fenton racing in the heavyweight class. Expecting him to pick up pole and 2 wins. Charlie Fenton has been a bit of a Sodi merchant, as some might like to say. He was very happy with the switch from the N35s to Sodis. Feel like they suit his style a little bit better. Callum Poulter across the line again, a 117.2, pardon me. Second clear of the rest of the field currently. Harry Asher has just crossed the line with a 117.6, so just a few tenths between the top two. Adam Green unable to improve on his most recent lap, a 119.4. I think trying to get through a couple of drivers, which has cost him a little bit of time. So it is only your leading two who are into the 117s, and Callum Poulter might be squeaking into the 116s on this lap as these Sodis gradually get a bit more heat into their tyres. Up the inside goes Adam Green on Charlie Fenton, seeing a puff of smoke from those rear tyres. So he hits on the brakes heading down into the hairpin of turn 10. Another 107.2 from Callum Poulter. Harry Asher does improve with a 117.6. Sorry, a 118.5 that time around for Harry Asher. So he's also trying to get through on some of the traffic. Adam Green also improving with a 118.2, just about within a second of Callum Poulter. Here comes Callum Poulter. A big lock-up on the rears, as Poulter's really pushing those limits in this practice session, and that's the place where you do want to push the limits if you are going to do that. As Adam Green and Harry Asher are behind Charlie Fenton, heading into the final corner. A very good lap from our number 11 anonymous kart, a 117.0, 7 thousandths quicker than Harry Asher, who has improved up to second ahead of Callum Poulter. He's still sitting on that 117.2, so 2 tenths separating your top 3 drivers. Then comes Charlie Fenton and Adam Green. Charlie Fenton improving to a 118.0 on his last lap. Alexei Ivanov and the number 5 anonymous kart also improving with 118.3s. Seeing improvements as well from Finley Anderson and Harry Clifford with 120.3s and 120.5s respectively. As wide goes Charlie Fenton on the exit of the final corner, as he's having a fun battle with Harry Asher. Now Harry Asher and Adam Green have both got past Fenton. So I've just had confirmation as well. The driver in the number 11 kart is Daniel Selly, who has been able to put in that very quick time of a 117.0 at the top of the times. Callum Poulter has also improved with a 117.0. So your top 3 are separated by 19 thousandths of a second. It is very, very tight indeed, which makes me very, very excited for what we might be seeing in our sprint race. So, I found out that the driver in the number 5 kart is David Selly. So we have Daniel and David Selly, the 2 Selly brothers out on circuit, both doing very well. Daniel in particular in the number 11 kart at the top of the times. David Selly has put in a 117.7, just ahead of Adam Green by 5 hundredths of a second. And then comes Alexei Ivanov. Alexei Ivanov having a pretty good opening session as the checkered flag is waving. So qualifying draws to a close. Any improvements then? Callum Poulter has crossed the line. A 117.4 from him. Here comes, I believe, Daniel Selly in the number 11 kart. We'll see what the lap times are like for him. Harry Asher, 1:17.8. No improvement from him. No improvement either from the number 11 or the number 5 karts. Both of them in the 1:18s on that last lap. Alexei Ivanov, 1:17.75. Jumps just ahead of Adam Green and just 200 shy of David Selly. So seeing just about, what is that? 58,000 separating 4th, 5th and 6th. Very, very close. Two very close battles. One between the top 3. And then the second battle from 4th down to 6th. Finley Anderson also almost improving on his last lap of a 1:19.0. Just a few hundredths shy of Tom Illingworth. Or is that Illingworth? I think it's Illingworth. Harry Clifford down in P10 as well. A best time of a 1:19.7. Just 7/10 shy of Finley Anderson. I believe as well Harry Clifford's first outing as well in the Super Champs, so expecting his pace to be improving over the course of the day, and the same for Finley Anderson as well. But overall, things are looking good for our Saudi Championship this season. So, all of our karts then have been stopped on the approach into turn 9, and we'll have them gridded up on the run towards turn 10 and get our Saudi race underway momentarily. So Daniel Selly and Harry Asher are on the front row of the grid. Daniel Selly in that orange suit with the white helmet. And then comes Callum Poulter ahead of David Selly. It looks like we are ready to get underway then with our first Saudi race of the day, the second race overall. So, Daniel Selly and Harry Asher on the front row of the grid, and then comes Adam Green and David Selly. And then Alexei Ivanov follows the leading quartet of drivers. We are ready to get racing then. Our Saudis have been released. Rolling start being led by Daniel Selly to kickstart Season 3 of the Daytona Milton Keynes Saudi Super Champs. Callum Poulter down in third for this race. Here they come then, round the final corner. And when does Daniel Selly want to pull the trigger? We are green and racing. And it's a good start as well for Harry Asher, who tries to hang around the outside. Callum Poulter, though, still has the inside. Can't get up the inside, though, of Daniel Selly. Everyone gets through without too much drama through the chicane. And into the hairpin of turn 4 they go. And it is still Daniel Selly who is leading this one from Harry Asher and Callum Poulter. So your top 3, nose to tail, as they were in practice. And then just behind them comes David Selly and Adam Green in this 5-way battle for the lead. And then it's Charlie Fenton who's managed to find a way through on Alexei Ivanov in the battle for P6. Through turn 7 they go, and it looks like Callum Poulter's got a decent run coming out of the hairpin, heading down the hill towards turn 8 as he tries to find a way through on Asher for second position. Now we wait for the Saudis to make their way up the hill. I'm seeing a yellow flag being waved. Is someone in the tyre barriers at turn 6? We'll have to wait and see. Daniel Selly, though, is leading this one. And then comes Callum Poulter, and it is a big gap back to Harry Asher, who is running in third place, just ahead of David Selly. Now, what has happened to Adam Green? I think that's Adam Green who is trying to battle with Charlie Fenton. No, it's not. Charlie Fenton doesn't look too happy. Now, where is Adam Green? Is he the cause of that yellow flag? I think he might be. There he is, making his way down towards turn 9. So it's been a torrid start to this sprint race for Adam Green, and a torrid start to the season as well. And it's going to take a lot of work to catch up to the back of the field, let alone make his way through it. At the front, though, it's a Daniel Selly and Callum Poulter battle for the race win. And then comes Harry Asher ahead of David Selly. Through turn 7 they go, and down the hill towards turn 8. So apparently with Adam Green, he tried to have a send up into turn 8. Speaking of sends, Callum Poulter has found a way through on Daniel Selly up into the lead of this race. Daniel Selly, though, fighting back, gets the switchback coming out of the penultimate corner on the outside now into the final corner. Does he look for the switchback? I think he tried to, but he just has to slot in behind Callum Poulter as they come across the line. And that little battle between them has allowed Harry Asher to close in somewhat. Callum Poulter then a 117.4. Harry Asher and David Selly lapping in the low 117s, 117.1 and a 117.3 respectively. Attention paddock. Can our D-Max drivers please start getting themselves kitted up and to the end of pit lane so we can get you into your karts as quickly as possible? Thank you. So waiting for Callum Poulter then to make his way out of turn 8. Here he is into view, and he has already stretched out a few kart lengths clear of Daniel Selly as they head down into the hairpin of turn 10. And then Harry Asher just behind with David Selly closely in tow. And then we've got Charlie Fenton ahead of Tom Illingworth in that green helmet. And then behind Tom comes Alexei Ivanov. Adam Green last time round, a 118.4. Callum Poulter, though, into the 116s, a 116.9, the fastest lap of the day in the Sodi category. 7/10 clear of the number 11 kart, which is currently piloted by Daniel Selly. Adam Green crosses the line with a 117.8, which pace-wise would see him in P5 or P6. Alexei Ivanov has just put in a 117.6 as he tries to hunt down Tom Illingworth and Charlie Fenton in the battle for P5. Charlie Fenton last time round, a 118.0, and Daniel Selly is starting to fall into the clutches of Harry Asher. Last time round, Asher took 3/10 out of Daniel Selly, and the gap between them was 1.4 seconds. Visibly, that gap has dropped down to about a second as Alexei Ivanov has found a way through on Tom Illingworth. And the pair of them making their way into the final corner now. Tom Illingworth with the green suit and the bright green helmet. Alexei Ivanov with the white suit and, the red suit and the white helmet. Last time round, another 116.9 for Callum Poulter, a 117.2 for Daniel Selly. Harry Asher, a 116.969, just 6,000 shy of Callum Poulter's fastest lap time. And then we've got David Selly with a 117.2. So the gap is now just over a second between Daniel Selly and Harry Asher. Harry Asher will be wanting to make sure he doesn't lose too many points to Callum Poulter in this opening race of the season. And also ensure that he is starting as high up the grid as possible for the second race of the day. Tell you what, Callum Poulter has been reeled in somewhat, I think, by Daniel Selly this time round. The gap definitely looks to be under a second, maybe sitting at about 6 or 7 tenths. And Harry Asher has stuck with Daniel Selly. So I'm expecting a new personal best for Daniel Selly. Last time round, a 117.291. This time round, a 116.849. Beaten, though, by Harry Asher, who sets a new fast lap of the race, a 116.7. Callum Poulter, a 117.0. It's not shabby for Poulter. He's been doing consistent 117.0s, 117.1s, 116.9s. But last time round, 2 tenths taken out of him by Daniel Selly. And now 1.7 seconds separating the top 3. 3 seconds between your top 4. Alexei Ivanov lapping very quickly as well, a 117.295, as he is just a second behind Charlie Fenton with about 7 minutes remaining in this race. Attention paddock, can all D-Max drivers please get themselves kitted up and to the end of pit lane. We only have about 6 or so minutes remaining in this race, and once this race ends, we want you all in your cart so we can get you out on circuit as quickly as possible. Thank you. Here comes Callum Poulter. He has pulled a lead once again over Daniel Selly, heading into the final corner with Harry Asher close behind, and now Harry Asher has to decide, what does he want to do? Does he want to work with Daniel Selly to try to close in onto Callum Poulter, or does he look for a move as quickly as possible? Callum Poulter sets a new fast lap of the race of 116.742. Meanwhile, Daniel Selly a 117.3, Harry Asher a 116.9. So Asher taking 4 tenths out of Selly last time round. Attention paddock, can all D-Max drivers please get yourselves race ready and to the end of pit lane. If you are late to your carts, I'm going to be calling you out by name. And that goes on YouTube as well, so you don't want to be late. Or even worse, I'll take over your cart and drive instead. And I'll put extra lead on my cart so I'm very slow. Callum Poulter now 1.3 seconds ahead of Daniel Selly. Another 116.7 for Callum Poulter. So he's had a look over his shoulder, and that's Harry Asher, who has made his way through. See what's happened, D-Max drivers? Because I've had to call all of you to get ready. We've missed the battle. It's all your fault. But either way, Daniel Selly has dropped behind Harry Asher. So good stuff from Harry Asher up into second place. But can Daniel Selly fight back? David Selly just another second or so behind, as we have a yellow flag out. That looks to be Charlie Fenton, and the pair of them are stuck as Adam Green has found a way through. It's like synchronized recovery between the two Sodi carts. And I don't believe that is Charlie Fenton. That is Finley Anderson and Harry Clifford, who have had that coming together. I don't know if we caught that one on camera. Harry Asher tucking his head down on the back straight as he has pulled a couple of tenths clear now of Daniel Selly, but he's still within striking distance, cannot afford to make a mistake with just a few minutes remaining of this race. Attention paddock, I have been told that there are too many people walking on the weighbridge. By too many, I mean there are some people walking on it. The weighbridge is part of the circuit. Please do not walk on it. Walk past it. You can look at it eagerly, but no stepping on it. Adam Green has been putting in some quick times. A 117.8 recently is his personal best. Callum Poulter, Harry Asher, and Daniel Selly all in the 117.3s and 117.4s, but Callum Poulter stretched 2.5 seconds clear now of Daniel Selly, or pardon me, of Harry Asher, who has Daniel Selly directly behind him, as they are heading down towards turn 8 now. And Callum Poulter comes back up into view with a big gap behind him to Harry Asher, followed by Daniel Selly. Alexei Ivanov has closed in onto Charlie Fenton as well, and I believe this is the battle for the heavyweight lead. Alexei Ivanov running in the heavyweight category, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just trying to see if he's got an armband on. No, he doesn't. So Alexei Ivanov isn't in the heavyweight category, but that doesn't matter because it is a battle out on circuit nonetheless, and I'm sure Charlie Fenton will be very happy to keep Alexei Ivanov behind him. But Alexei Ivanov, one of the drivers who has been a regular here at Daytona Milton Keynes for the last couple of seasons, has been regularly improving, getting better and better, and now actually battling with Charlie Fenton, which is very impressive for Alexei. What battle is this? This is Finley Anderson and Harry Clifford making their way round the final corner. Finley Anderson still ahead with the blue helmet, blue bell helmet at the top. Harry Asher has really pulled away from Daniel Selly on this particular lap. And now David Selly closing in to his brother as they head into the final corner. You see Daniel Selly with the orange suit, the white helmet, just ahead of David Selly. Black suit and white helmet directly behind him. A 1:16.6 new fastest lap of the race then for Callum Poulter last time round. Harry Asher 1:17.0 on that last lap. Charlie Fenton and Alexei Ivanov still nose to tail. Last time round, Alexei Ivanov taking a 10th out of Charlie Fenton, of 1:17.7 for Ivanov, 1:17.8 for Fenton. Just a couple of minutes remaining. So another reminder to our paddock and all of our D-Max drivers to make sure that they are at the end of pit lane. We can get you into your karts. I'm still seeing a few lonely karts without their drivers. Callum Poulter is making his way through the final corner to start the last lap of the race. David Selly currently 3/10 behind Daniel Selly. And then a further 9 seconds back is Charlie Fenton, who has Alexei Ivanov about half a second behind. And here is Fenton and Ivanov heading down the hill towards turn 5. Ivanov on the outside. Fenton has to go defensive. Ivanov's going to try to stick this one all the way around the outside of Fenton. He's right up onto the curb. Fenton still going defensive as they head into the carousel. Ivanov on the outside as they go all the way around the corner. And up into turn 7. Fenton, though, holds on to the position. So head down the hill from turn 7 into turn 8. The checker flag is being readied for Callum Poulter. It looks like he's going to take this one without much issue from Harry Asher, who did apply a fair bit of pressure onto Callum Poulter. But Callum Poulter rather appropriately upped his pace. Here, though, is Fenton and Ivanov heading through the long left hand of turn 9. Ivanov's on the outside. That's going to give him the inside heading into turn 10. But Fenton holds on to the position. Callum Poulter has taken the checker flag from Harry Asher. Then comes Daniel Selly and David Selly to complete the top 4. And in the end, Charlie Fenton just about keeps Alexei Ivanov at bay. And Fenton will take the heavyweight class win ahead of Alexei Ivanov, who will be taking 5th place in the lightweight class. Then will come Tom Illingworth, Adam Green, Finley Anderson and Harry Clifford to complete the field. So with that, we're going to take another quick break, and when we return, we will be having our D-Max feature race. Alright everyone, we are ready to get underway with our third race of the day, the second D-Max race of the day, the feature race. And well, we saw some absolutely fantastic battling in the sprint race, and we'll see whether we get more of the same for this feature race. Don Balasatis took the checkered flag, but Jamie Tyler Gooden was rapidly closing in onto him. And maybe now, with him starting in second instead of down in P6, can he take the challenge up to Dom? And these two have got so much experience battling with each other around the circuit. They've got so much experience here at Daytona Milton Keynes as well. They've battled with each other in the junior sprint leagues. They've battled in the Sodis and the N35s, and now they're battling in the D-Maxes. They might have even been battling back in karts as well. So, just to confirm, the starting order for this feature race is determined by the fastest lap in the sprint race. So Don Balasatis had the fastest lap, and I can't actually see who that is behind or starting alongside, but I think that's Matthew Glazebrook who will be in third. Jamie Tyler Gooden will be starting this race in P4. But we'll see once they get gridded up on the approach into turn 10. We'll see exactly who is where. Jamie Tyler Gooden then will be starting this race on pole with Don Balasatis alongside. So this time, Don Balasatis is going to be hunting down Jamie Tyler Gooden. And then it's going to be Jack Stewart starting in third place. I don't quite recognise who that is in fourth. Then we've got James Pedersen with Matthew Glazebrook. We'll be making up the third row of the grid. Then it is James King and Lewis Barton. That looks to be then Aidan Miller, who will be starting directly behind James King. And I'm not sure who that is alongside Aidan Miller. See, this is why I give the best excuse for buying a nice helmet and a nice suit. It means I get to identify you a lot more easily. If you've got a plain suit, I can't figure out who you are. If you've got a nice cool suit or a cool helmet like Jamie Tyler Gooden, then I can just see it shining from about 20 miles away. And I know exactly who's battling with who. think Sebastian Misicka is going to be lining up next. Once he gets given a new kart, there seems to be an issue with his current one. Still got the likes of Ian Riley, Gareth Baldwin, Barry Morris all to grid up. I've very much enjoyed the start to this D-Max Championship. It has been very, very tight, and we could still have a few more faces joining. Got the likes of Kuba Wozniak, who I don't think is here today. Same for the likes of Henry Trino as well. And then even in the D-Max lightweight category, you can have the likes of Philip Bebulal, who I think is actually heading to university soon, racing in the BUKC. Nathan James, another driver who isn't present today and could had a lot of fun. Another driver who is present but isn't racing, Mr. Adam Thomas, helping out around the circuit. It's a kart tester stroke marshal. So Sebastian Misicka has a new kart, and he is desperately trying to get some heat quickly into those tyres, although things might be a little bit more difficult for him. Having a new kart, a little bit less heat in the tyres, might struggle on that opening lap or two, and that's something that he's going to have to be aware of, and I'm sure a lot of the drivers behind him will be aware and eyeing up his kart thinking, ooh, that might be a juicy position for them. And that is Gareth Baldwin, followed by, I believe, Ian Riley and Barry Morris. So that trio were quite close in our sprint race, and they're going to be starting 1, 2, and 3. Or, well, all one after the other for this feature race. So our final few drivers have now been gridded up, and we are ready to get racing then with our D-Max feature race, the third race of the day, the second race for our D-Max drivers. As some car goes past the circuit, I didn't think it'd be possible to get a lower grumble than the Sodi karts, but there we go. So we have got the thumbs up, and the D-Max engines will roar to life, or buzz to life might be a better way to describe it. Jamie Tyler-Gooden will lead the field ahead of Dom Balasaitis, and they are currently first and second in the championship, but the other way around. And let's see how this race pans out. It should be an absolute cracker. So they make their way into the final corner, and when does Jamie Tyler-Gooden want to pull the trigger? He was the fastest in the first race of the day, but didn't have enough time to catch Dom Balasaitis. Now he's starting this race on pole. What can Dom Balasaitis do to challenge? We are green and we are racing at Daytona Milton Keynes. Good start for Jamie Tyler-Gooden, but that's Jack Stewart going up the inside of Dom Balasaitis into the chicane and up into second place. So a fantastic start from Jack Stewart. We have a spinner heading into the chicane. I don't know if that is potentially one of the King brothers, but I do know that Jack Stewart is up into second place and Dom Balasaitis is now coming under a bit of pressure from our 105 kart. And I believe that 105 car is Ashley Mason-King. Although I will quickly double check that as our karts make their way down the hill into turn 9. Never mind, it isn't Ashley Mason-King. I will double check who that is in a moment. As a bad run for one of our drivers, and past goes Lewis Barton and James Pedersen. James Pedersen actually getting a decent run out of the final corner. Can't go up the inside of Lewis Barton though into turn 1. Jamie Tardy-Gooden has stretched out a 1 second lead over Jack Stewart. So it is Matthew Thomas who is in the 105 kart that is currently running in P4. So a very good start then for Matthew Thomas. And it's a Matthew 4-5 because it is Matthew Glazebrook who is currently running in P5. Here is Jamie Tardy-Gooden back into view. Then comes Jack Stewart, Dom Balasaitis, followed by Matthew Thomas. And then comes Matthew Glazebrook, James Pedersen. So Lewis Barton has dropped down a position or so. And Joseph Fletcher is coming under fire from James King, who is directly behind him as they head through the final corner with Gareth Baldwin directly behind the pair of them. Jamie Tardy-Gooden, a 105.4 last time round, pulling half a second to Jack Stewart and Dom Balasaitis. And it is indeed James King who is battling with Gareth Baldwin. Has Carl Stevens right behind him. As our leaders make their way out of turn 7 and down towards turn 8. Here comes Jamie Tardy-Gooden into turn 10. Continuing to extend his lead over Jack Stewart and Dom Balasaitis. Dom Balasaitis. Oh, Jack Stewart. He's put a wheel on the curb and lost the rear. Oh, he's going to be kicking himself for that one. James Pedersen is going to fly up his inside. And Jack Stewart, it's such an easy mistake to make. You just let the kart out onto the curb. It spins up the rear tyres and sends you around. Dom Balasaitis promoted up into second place. And Jack Stewart has a lot of work to do. And we might be seeing a really good drive now for Jack Stewart as he tries to clamber up the field, currently down in P6, directly behind James Pedersen. And Jack Stewart is all over the rear end of James Pedersen. He's going to send it up the inside into the carousel. Jack Stewart wasting no time whatsoever, flying past James Pedersen, who tries to fight back into turn 7, but there is no fighting back for Pedersen as Stewart takes P5 and now tries to hunt down Matthew Glazebrook with Matthew Thomas currently in P3. Last time around, Tardy-Gooden, a 105.1. It was a 105.9 for Dom Balasaitis. Jamie Tardy-Gooden absolutely flying. Matthew Glazebrook is closing in onto Matthew Thomas as well. Last time around, he took 3/10 out of the gap. And this time round, it's a 105.9 for Matthew Thomas, a 106.0 for Matthew Glazebrook, 9/10 between the pair of them. And then Jack Stewart is a further 3 seconds behind. You can see Jack Stewart making his way through turn 5. He's already stretched a few kart lengths ahead of James Pedersen. Ian Riley right behind Barry Morris as they head into the carousel. Gareth Baldwin just ahead of the pair of them as they are hunting down Carl Stevens, who is a further 5/10 up the road. Jamie Tardy-Gooden continuing to stretch his lead over Dom Balasaitis, and when he comes out of turn 10, You might have a little glance and see Don Balasatis and notice that the gap is continuing to increase with every passing lap. James Pedersen has started to up his own pace, closing in on to Jack Stewart on this last lap. Let's see what the lap is then for Jack Stewart as he crosses the line. Jack Stewart a 106.4, James Pedersen a 106.2, so actually losing time. Matthew Glazebrook putting in his new personal best of the race, a 105.6, and taking 0.6 out of Matthew Thomas, and the gap is now half a second between the pair as they head through the carousel of turn 6 and then up towards the hairpin of turn 7. Here comes Tyler Goodland once more. He's so close to getting into the 104s, which would be an absolutely cracking lap time for Jamie Tyler Gooden if he can actually pull that one off. Tyler Gooden then crosses the line. It's another 105.1 for Jamie Tyler Gooden. It's a 105.4 for Don Balasatis. Now, Matthew Glazebrook right behind Matthew Thomas. Both of them in the 105s as well, but it's a 105.7 for Matthew Glazebrook. And then Jack Stewart finally into the 105s, a 105.9, 105.8 for James Pedersen. And there is a yellow flag out. Who is that out for? Jack Stewart's fine. James Pedersen's fine. So is Lewis Barton. Is that Joseph Fletcher? I think that very well might be Joseph Fletcher, who has had an incident down into turn 4. Doesn't look to be. And it does sound like there was contact. Here comes Matthew Glazebrook. He's centered up the inside of Matthew Thomas through turn 9 and down into turn 10 they go. Switchback then from Matthew Thomas. And Matthew Thomas holds on to third place, but Matthew Glazebrook is fighting this one and has the pace to get past, but can he make the move stick? Through the chicane they go. Jamie Tyler Gooden, yet another 105.1. Don Balasatis, 105.4. And mid 106s for Matthew Thomas and Matthew Glazebrook. Jack Stewart, 105.5, taking a second out of the gap. The more those two battle, the better it is for Jack Stewart and James Pedersen. Remember, Jack Stewart was running up in second position in the early stages of this race, having got past Don Balasatis on the opening lap. Barry Morris has found a way through on Gareth Baldwin, up into P10 overall. Has Carl Stevens ahead of him by just a few tenths of a second. We'll see if we can catch on to that battle. Now here is James King and Carl Stevens. Carl Stevens with the black suit and the black and green helmet. Also in the heavyweight class. James King, though, I don't believe is running in the heavyweight class. Barry Morris is, though. So this is the battle for the heavyweight class win. Currently being led by Carl Stevens ahead of Barry Morris. Then comes Gareth Baldwin and Ian Riley. Jamie Tyler Gooden, yet another 105.1. Don Balasatis, 105.3. And then Matthew Thomas, 105.5. And Matthew Thomas, Matthew Glazebrook, Jack Stewart, James Pedersen, all doing mid 105s. Barry Morris closing in to Carl Stevens as they head down the hill towards turn 8. This is the battle for the heavyweight class win. Matthew Glazebrook has dropped back a little bit from Matthew Thomas on this most recent lap as they head into the final corner. And here is James King, who has stretched out a little bit of a lead over Carl Stevens, heading down into the hairpin of turn 10. Ian Riley's right onto the back of Gareth Baldwin, and Aidan Miller is right behind the pair of them. I think Aidan Miller is running in the lightweight class for these D-Maxes. Last time round for Barry Morris, a 106.8. It's the same as the laps being put in by Carl Stevens. Gareth Baldwin, a 107.1. Ian Riley, though, a 106.7, the quickest of the quartet of drivers. James Pedersen still just trying to tag along with Jack Stewart, as here is Barry Morris still closing in onto Carl Stevens. Gareth Baldwin has Ian Riley directly behind him. And then comes Aidan Miller, followed by Joseph Fletcher. Again, Carl Stevens and Barry Morris lapping in those mid 106s, 106.5 for Barry Morris, his new personal best of the race on the last lap, as Ian Riley goes up the inside of Gareth Baldwin and up a position into third in the heavyweight class. So good stuff then from Ian Riley. Aidan Miller might be looking to take advantage, but Gareth Baldwin sends it back up the inside of Riley. Oh, spin! Is that a spin? No, it is fine for a second. I thought Gareth Baldwin was facing the wrong way on the exit of turn 7. It all seems to be perfectly fine between the pair of them. Jamie Tyler-Gooden has actually put in a 104.896 last time round. So the pace is absolutely lightning quick for Tyler-Gooden, as Gareth Baldwin is ahead of Joseph Fletcher. Then comes Ian Riley and Aidan Miller. So Joseph Fletcher gaining a couple of places courtesy of this squabble between Riley and Baldwin. And Barry Morris has really pulled away from this quartet of karts as he continues his battle with Carl Stevens for the heavyweight win. Jamie Tyler-Gooden now nearly 7 seconds clear of Dom Balasaitis. I think I saw a little look for Jamie Tyler-Gooden as he exited turn 10 and would have seen the big gap to Dom Balasaitis. Knows that he can get his head down and put in his laps in comfort. The pace, another 104.9. It's consistent for Tyler-Gooden, and it keeps on getting quicker and quicker. A 105.5 for Dom Balasaitis. The gap is now 6.9 seconds. As James King is right onto the back of Lewis Barton. This is the battle for P7 overall and in the lightweight class. Gareth Baldwin has now been passed by Joseph Fletcher and has Ian Riley directly behind him once again, and closely followed by Aidan Miller, and then comes AJ Watson. Wide for Aidan Miller then through turn 5. That's going to allow Ian Riley just to pull away a slight amount. Barry Morris still just sticking with Carl Stevens, but just doesn't have that pace advantage to go for the move. So a quick call to the paddock. Can all Sodi drivers please get themselves race ready until the end of pit lane? You do not have long. So all Sodi drivers, kit it up, end of pit lane, so we can get you into your karts as quickly as possible. Thank you. Barry Morris is right onto the back of Carl Stevens now as they head through the chicane. Barry Morris with his new personal best of the race of 106.4, taking 2/10 out of Carl Stevens on that last lap. Ian Riley sending it up the inside of Gareth Baldwin into turn 4. And I think he's made the move work as well. AJ Watson going to follow through. Gareth Baldwin getting a very, very slow exit. And Gareth Baldwin actually gets past Ian Riley once again. Jamie Tyler-Gooden has had a bad lap. A 105.2. Terrible. But still, quickest driver out on circuit, Don Balasaitis, has had a turret lap in comparison. A 106.0 on the last lap, this time around a 105.6, so finding the pace once again. Maybe caught a back marker in the wrong place, as James King is right on the back of Lewis Barton, heading through the final corner and onto the start-finish straight. And Riley again getting a decent exit out of the final corner. Can't get alongside Gareth Baldwin into turn one. Battle for third place in the heavyweight class. Sebastian Musica is onto the back of the pair of them now. Jamie Tyler Gooden heads through the hairpin of turn 10. He's just been able to lap another driver. Matthew Thomas has really pulled away from Matthew Glazebrook, who is starting to fall into the clutches of Jack Stewart. Actually, he's been overtaken by Jack Stewart. So Jack Stewart up into fourth place, now trying to hunt down Matthew Thomas. James King still on the back of Lewis Barton, heading into the final corner. And then Barry Morris right behind Carl Stevens. Barry Morris goes up the inside into the final corner. Barry Morris up into the lead. Carl Stevens, though, fights this one back. And Barry Morris takes the race lead in the heavyweight class. And another call to our paddock. Can all of our Sodi drivers please get themselves race ready and to the end of pit lane? All Sodi drivers race ready and to the end of pit lane, please. James King has got a decent run on Lewis Barton, trying to go up the inside into the carousel. Has to back out of the move and slotting behind, yielding the position and settling for P8. But Barry Morris finally passed Carl Stevens. He had been waiting for a long, long time to get that move done. New personal best then for Matthew Thomas, a 105.3. Jack Stewart, 105.4 last time round. We'll see what it is as they cross the line. This time, Matthew Thomas then, another 105.3. Jack Stewart, sorry, it's a 105.7 for Matthew Thomas and a 105.8 for Jack Stewart. So 3 and a bit seconds between the pair of them. Ian Riley has now been passed by Sebastian Musica. I'm not sure if Sebastian Musica is running in the heavyweight class, though, or the lightweight class. Barry Morris is having to defend this one up the inside. He goes with Carl Stevens trying to hang it around the outside. And they head into the carousel. Barry Morris might be slightly compromised into turn 6. But he holds on to the lead. Carl Stevens, though, not going to let this race win go without a hard, hard fight. James King still on the back of Lewis Barton in this battle for P7. Takes it a little bit tighter through the apex of turn 10. A bit of contact. Carl Stevens running into the back of Barry Morris. And closing in onto the pair of them is Joseph Fletcher, who is absolutely flying along. 105.8 personal best, 106.6 on his last lap around. I think it's going to be a lot quicker on this lap. 106.0 for Joseph. Jamie Tyler Gooden now leading this race by 10 seconds. It has been a dominant drive for Jamie Tyler Gooden. As Sebastian Musica goes up the inside of Ian Riley and is now searching for a way through on Gareth Baldwin, heading down into turn 5. Another call to our paddock. Can all Sodi drivers get themselves race ready and to the end of pit lane? Thank you. Here is Joseph Fletcher right behind Carl Stevens and Barry Morris as they head into the final corner. Barry Morris on his last lap, a 108, this time round a 106.9, so Morris and Stevens are battling as hard as they can. And now Joseph Fletcher is right onto the back of them. James King trying to get the run on Lewis Barton on the exit of turn 5. Cannot do it successfully. And does have to slot behind once more. Still Barton ahead of King, and then just behind it, Morris ahead of Stevens. The pair of them have pulled a cart length or so to Joseph Fletcher on the last lap around. Here is Gareth Baldwin ahead of Sebastian Musica. And then comes Ian Riley. Wide from Gareth Baldwin, that's going to allow Ian Riley to take the position. I think they were side by side heading into turn 1. So Ian Riley back up into 3rd place in the heavyweight class. Now has Sebastian Musica to find a way through. So Sebastian Musica was able to get past both Gareth Baldwin and Ian Riley. Now trying to hunt down AJ Watson in P13. It's another 104.9 for Jamie Tyler Gooden. The gap up to 11.5 seconds at the front of the field. Carl Stevens right behind Barry Morris heading into the final corner. No way through on this occasion as Ian Riley goes up the inside of Sebastian Musica. Musica tries to hold it around the outside, goes up onto the curb, and that's a dangerous curb. We saw what happened to Jack Stewart at the start of this race. But Ian Riley has gained another position and it's up into P14. Now trying to hunt down AJ Watson with the red helmet and the blue suit. Don Balasatis is being closed in by Matthew Thomas. And the gap is only a couple of seconds now. We'll see exactly what it is when they cross the line. So Jamie Tyler Gooden is leading this race by 12.8 seconds. And then it is 2 seconds between Balasatis and Matthew Thomas. Last time round, Matthew Thomas gaining 1.3 seconds on Don Balasatis. Well, Barry Morris now has a nice little buffer between himself and Carl Stevens, and that buffer goes by the name of Joseph Fletcher. Good run for James King, able to go up the inside of Lewis Barton through turn 1. Barton going to try to fight this one back, but can't get alongside into turn 4. And James King has finally been able to make his way up into P7. Well, the checkered flag is getting ready for Jamie Tyler Gooden, who is almost halfway around the lap now. He has had an absolutely flawless feature race. You could not have asked anything more of him. Lewis Barton back ahead of James King, who goes a little bit sideways down into turn 10. Barry Morris being closed in by Joseph Fletcher with 1 lap to go. AJ Watson has Ian Riley directly behind him. And sorry, AJ Watson's also in the heavyweight class, so this is a big move for Ian Riley. This, I think, is actually for P3 in the heavyweight class. Aidan Miller running in the lightweights, if I'm not mistaken. But here is Jamie Tyler Gooden making his way through the final corner. What a drive then for Jamie Tyler Gooden, as he will win the feature race to start off his Super Champs campaign. Don Balasatis took the win in the sprint race, but in the feature race, he's just been second bested by Jamie Tyler Gooden. Well, a win and a second for Don Balasatis. ahead of a very impressive drive from Matthew Thomas to take P3. And then it will be Jack Stewart, followed by Matthew Glazebrook and James Bettison. Lewis Barton has been able to find a way through on James King once again. So good stuff for Barton. James King, though, might be able to have a go into the final corner. Too far back, and Barton goes a little bit defensive. And it's actually almost a drag to the line between the pair of them, but Barton takes it in the end. Barry Morris, fist in the air, wins the feature race in the D-Max heavyweight class, with Carl Stevens taking second in the heavyweight class ahead of, I believe, it is going to be AJ Watson. No, Ian Riley takes third ahead of AJ Watson. And then will come Gareth Baldwin, Sebastian Museka sandwiched in the middle of that battle. So, with that race done and dusted, we are going to take a short break. And when we return, we'll have our final race of the day, the Sodi feature race. Welcome back, everyone. We are getting ready to head on into our final race of the day, the Sodi feature race. Callum Poulter will be starting this one on pole with, I believe, Harry Asher starting alongside. And then we have the Sully brothers, Daniel ahead of David. Then comes Alexei Ivanov and Charlie Fenton with Adam Green just behind. So we had an absolutely cracking D-Max feature race, both in the lightweight class and the heavyweight class. And all of our Sodis are now gridded up. We are ready to get this race underway. So the Saudis begin their rumble towards the final corner to get this race underway. Callum Poulter will lead Harry Asher off. We'll see whether Harry Asher, now that he's starting in second, whether he can just stick with Callum Poulter for this race and provide a little bit more of a challenge than in the sprint race where he had to take some time to get through the field. But we are green and racing. Callum Poulter will lead the field away as we cross the line. It's a very good start for Daniel Selly, who goes up the inside of Harry Asher into turn one. Asher now on the outside into the chicane, and the pair of them are side by side all the way through. But Harry Asher holds on to second place very critically, with Daniel Selly ahead of David Selly down in P4. And where is Adam Green in all of this? So Adam Green has worked his way past Charlie Fenton and is up into a fifth position. Is searching for a way through on David Selly as well, heading into the carousel of turn 6. So we wait for the Saudis to make their exit out of turn 8 and back into view. And it is Callum Poulter who is leading ahead of Harry Asher and Daniel Selly as they were on the exit of turn 4. And there goes Adam Green up the inside of, that's actually Alexei Ivanov. So very good stuff then for Adam Green. And it is David Selly who has a lot of work to do, dropping down the order in this opening lap. They start a new lap, and Harry Asher has closed in somewhat to Callum Poulter. A couple of kart lengths separating the top three, 0.8 of a second between Poulter, Asher and Selly. Now that Adam Green has some clean air, will be trying to close into this three-way battle for the race win, and might even be able to drag Alexei Ivanov along with him. They make their way through turn 7. And just like it was in practice, those top three are in their own little bubble at the moment. And Alexei Ivanov has really been improving. We talked about how much he's improved from last season to this season. Well, he's improved a little bit more over the course of today as well. Really taking the challenge up to Adam Green and keeping Charlie Fenton well at bay for now. Here come the top three then, through turn 9 and down into turn 10. And it's a much better run for Harry Asher through the hairpin as they head into the final corner. Too far back is Harry Asher to have a send. He does have to slot in behind for now. So Alexei Ivanov is sticking with Adam Green as they cross the start-finish line to start a new lap. 1:17s for everyone. Harry Asher 1:17.0. Adam Green, the slowest of the 5 drivers, a 1:17.9. Alexei Ivanov, a 1:17.7. Harry Asher is all over the rear end of Callum Poulter. Well, in both the D-Max Heavies and the D-Max Lightweights, the driver who won the sprint race did not win the feature race. We'll see whether that happens again as Ivanov goes up the inside of Adam Green. Can't make the move work through turn 7, and Adam Green holds on to P4 for now. As the Saudis head down into turn 8, and we'll see them pop back up into view any second now, and here they come. Still Poulter ahead of Asher. But Harry Asher is going up the inside through turn 9. Poulter holds it around the outside. That gives him the inside lock-up off the rear. And Harry Asher with a beautiful switchback on Callum Poulter. But it is still Poulter who has the inside heading into the final corner. Harry Asher looks for the switchback. Can he make this one work? Poulter's trying to cover off the inside and will be able to do so. Harry Asher has to settle for second this time round. Has a little think about going up the inside. Decides better of it. And this battling has allowed Daniel Selly to close in as Harry Asher once again goes up the inside of Callum Poulter, this time into turn 4. But again, Callum Poulter just gets the drive coming out of the hairpin and holds on to the race lead. And the two-way battle has once again become a three-way battle, and it might become a five-way battle soon if Adam Green and Alexei Ivanov can close into this. through turn 7 and down the hill towards turn 8 they go. I think Charlie Fenton is having a little battle with David Sully, who has just been able to get past him. And David Sully now will be trying to close into the back of Alexei Ivanov. Here is Callum Poulter ahead of Harry Asher and just behind Adam Green, still trying to keep Alexei Ivanov at bay. Ivanov really closing in under the brakes onto the back of Adam Green. Just about avoids making contact, and David Sully, now that he has some clean air, can try to close into this pack up ahead. We'll see what the lap times are looking like. A 1:17.3 for Callum Poulter, a 1:17.5 for Asher, a 1:17.4 for Daniel Sully. It's a 1:17.8 and a 1:17.6 for Green and Ivanov, and a 1:17.8 also for David Sully. Through turn 5 they go, and up towards turn 6. Still Poulter ahead of Asher as they head through that long right-hander. Then they go down the hill towards turn 8. Harry Asher is right on the back of Callum Poulter as they make their way through turn 9. And maybe this time round he has a go. Just slots in behind Callum Poulter, maybe a little bit defensive into the hairpin. A little bit wary of the threat of Harry Asher directly behind him. As Ivanov still on the back of Adam Green as they make their way around the final corner. A 1:16.6 for Poulter, a 1:16.7 for Asher. Fastest laps from the pair of them. A 1:17.1 for Daniel Sully. As the top two have started to work together, they have started to stretch out a gap to Daniel Sully in third position. Finley Anderson and Tom Illingworth having a little bit of a battle of their own right now in the battle for P8 overall. And Harry Clifford a further 3 seconds behind. So still Callum Poulter leading from Harry Asher, but not much between them as they head into turn 9 once again. I do feel like Harry Asher is just biding his time. He's already had one go at Callum Poulter. Maybe he's playing the smart choice, which is waiting so that he's far enough ahead of Daniel Sully before having another crack at the race lead. Adam Green has stretched out a little bit of an advantage over Alexei Ivanov this time around. New personal best for Adam Green, a 1:17.4. Still though, 0.3 slower than the lap time set by Daniel Sully in third position. It's now 4 and a bit seconds behind third. So through turn 7 and down towards turn 8 go our Sodis once more. Still Callum Poulter leading this by a few tenths over Harry Asher. And here comes Poulter and Asher through turn 9 and into the hairpin of turn 10. Now into the final corner they go. Harry Asher just glued to the rear end of Callum Poulter. Biding his time and waiting. Daniel Sully now 1.8 seconds back in third position. And with a 5-second buffer to Adam Green down in fourth. Still a while left to go in this race. Harry Asher can just continue to mount the pressure on Callum Poulter and wait for a potential mistake. Otherwise, maybe just wait for a last lap send. Alexei Ivanov, another 117.5. Same as Adam Green, 9/10 between the pair of them. And then comes David Selly in P6, 117.4 last time round, but he's about 3 seconds behind Alexei Ivanov currently. As Poulter and Asher back into view, heading through turn 9 once more. And Harry Asher's gone for it. He's gone for the inside of Callum Poulter. Poulter, though, hanging it round the outside. Cool as you like from Callum Poulter. He knows that even if Harry Asher wants to send it up the inside, he can just open up the steering himself, take the slightly wider line, carry more speed, and get the momentum on corner exit. And Harry Asher will be starting to wonder, how does he get past Callum Poulter? Because that's been his second effort so far this race. And both times, Callum Poulter has had an answer ready for him. Still Poulter ahead of Asher as they go through turn 7 with Daniel Sully just behind. Callum Poulter, Harry Asher, the only two drivers lapping in the 116s. A new personal best for Callum Poulter, 116.643. And Harry Asher tucking right behind Callum Poulter all the way down into turn 9. He's actually got the inside, but again, Callum Poulter, he hangs around the outside and that gives him the inside down into turn 10. Asher looks for the switchback just like he did before, but Callum Poulter, as per usual, has the inside into this final corner. Harry Asher's going to try to hang it the long way round the final corner, but no success for him. Callum Poulter, again, cool as you like, holds on to the lead of the race. And attempt number 3 for Harry Asher ends the same way as the first two, with him in second and Callum Poulter still leading the race. Through the carousel goes Poulter and Asher. And into turn 7 and heading back down the hill once again. And Harry Asher can definitely taste victory. He's managed to get his nose ahead of Callum Poulter a couple of times, but has not been able to complete the move. And this time, it's Poulter on the inside. Harry Asher looking for the outside, but can't get fully alongside. And Poulter goes defensive into the hairpin. Harry Asher can find no way through. I think Harry Asher knows that he needs to be on the inside heading into the final corner, which means that he needs to be on the outside, or pardon me, on the inside heading through turn 9. And even if he gets on the inside, he has to look for the switchback through turn 10. If he can try to hang it round the outside of turn 10, maybe that is his opportunity to take this race win away from Callum Poulter. Because at the moment, Callum Poulter is just driving a very, very good defensive drive. Charlie Fenton is being closed by Finley Anderson and Tom Illingworth. So a slow lap for Charlie Fenton last time round, a 119.5. It's actually lost a second to Finley Anderson, a second and a half to Tom Illingworth. So we might be having a battle on in the Saudi heavyweight class. Poulter and Asher back into view, heading into turn 9. Harry Asher not close enough this time round to strike. Alexei Ivanov now under pressure from David Selly, who's going to go up the inside into turn 10. Alexei Ivanov leaves the room, and David Selly moves up into P5. Now has Adam Green to hunt down as Charlie Fenton is definitely being reeled in by Finley Anderson. Fenton last time round a 1:18.3. Finley Anderson a 1:18.7. Tom Illingworth a 1:18.6. So Charlie Fenton stretching his gap to Finley Anderson by 0.4, and is now sitting at 1.3 seconds. Callum Poulter has extended his lead over Harry Asher by a kart length or so. It's Alexei Ivanov just trying to stick with David Sully, as David Sully tries to hunt down Adam Green for P4. Ivanov going up the inside of David Sully, retakes a position through turn 1 as they head through the chicane of 2 and 3. Last time round, Adam Green a 1:17.695. Alexei Ivanov a 1:17.5. So gaining a 10th on Green. And then David Sully with a 1:17.9. Callum Poulter still has Harry Asher directly behind him. Pair of them back into the 1:16s once again. A 16.6 for Poulter. A 16.8 for Harry Asher last time round. Let's see what it is this time round, because Harry Asher has definitely closed in. A 16.8 for Poulter and a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:16.4 for Harry Asher as they head into the hairpin of turn 4. Meanwhile, Tom Illingworth and Finley Anderson side by side as they head through turn 10 and into turn 11. Through the final corner, and they are still neck and neck as they make their approach to the line. And it is Finley Anderson who was ahead, but on the outside, and Tom Illingworth goes up the inside into turn 2 and takes the position. Fighting back, though, was Finley Anderson, and ends up getting his nose chopped off heading into turn 4, has to yield and relinquish the position. Charlie Fenton still within visible distance to these two. If they work together, maybe they could close in onto Fenton, as Harry Asher's right behind Callum Poulter, who again goes defensive down into turn 10. No way through for Harry Asher, with about 5 or so minutes remaining in this race. As up the inside goes David Sully on Alexei Ivanov, and Ivanov can't hang it around the outside, or maybe he can, and has the inside into turn 10. And David Sully loses his rears under braking and loses a whole amount of time as well in the process. Charlie Fenton is being caught once again by Finley Anderson. Well, pardon me, I don't think that's Finley Anderson. I think it's Tom Illingworth who is up ahead of Finley now. Tom Illingworth in the green helmet, Finley Anderson in the blue. I'll just double check that as they come across the line. It is indeed. So Tom Illingworth trying to hunt down Charlie Fenton last time around, taking over second out of Fenton. And here comes Harry Asher. Poulter going defensive. Asher on the outside. Has to slot in behind Poulter. Once more heading into the hairpin of turn 10. And Asher's gone up the inside of Poulter once again. Callum Poulter, though, again hangs it around the outside. But this is a much better drive for Harry Asher, who's on the inside into turn 1 and has finally taken the race lead away from Callum Poulter. He's waited, he has tried 4 times now. And 4th time was the charm for Harry Asher, as he finally takes the lead away from Callum Poulter with just a few laps remaining. Charlie Fenton is also being hunted down by Tom Illingworth, who has found a huge spurt of pace and is closing in to the reigning Saudi heavyweight champion. Through the final corner they go. And Charlie Fenton will come into camera shot as he heads through turn 1 with Tom Illingworth directly behind. Last time round, Tom Illingworth, a new personal best of 1:18.0, takes 7/10 out of Fenton, who is really starting to feel the pressure. Callum Poulter, though, is not done with this race just yet. Right on the back of Harry Asher through turn 9. Cannot send it into the hairpin of turn 10, but he gets a good drive, keeping his nose almost alongside Harry Asher heading into the final corner. Adam Green has really pulled away from Alexei Ivanov and David Selly as Asher and Poulter head through the chicane of turns 2 and 3. Asher going a little bit defensive in Callum Poulter. Has just found that little bit of extra pace. Tom Illingworth right behind Charlie Fenton now. And Finlay Anderson has been left behind now by Tom Illingworth. Where has this pace come from for Illingworth? He might be on for a feature race win. Tom Illingworth, new personal best of 1:17.8, taking another 3/10 out of Charlie Fenton. And the gap between them is just 3/10 now as they head down the hill towards turn 5. Still Asher ahead of Callum Poulter as they head down into turn 9. Poulter's up the inside of Harry Asher, and now it's Harry Asher's turn to defend just like Poulter was before. Poulter looks for the switchback, but Harry Asher parks it on the apex beautifully. No way through for Callum Poulter, and he can't send it up the inside into the final corner as they come across the line to start the new lap. And I think there's a no blocking sign out for Harry Asher as Callum Poulter tries to find a way through, heading into the chicane once more. It's all about that run coming out of turn 8 and the drive up the hill towards that long left hand of turn 9. Alexei Ivanov right behind David Selly as Charlie Fenton has been able to stretch a gap to Tom Illingworth once again. He's now sitting about half a second clear of his heavyweight rival. And we wait for Callum Poulter and Harry Asher to make their exit out of turn 8. We were hoping that Harry Asher could keep Callum Poulter honest in this feature race, and he has done exactly that, taking the race lead away from Harry Asher. And when do they come back into shot? Here they come. And that's Callum Poulter up the inside of Harry Asher, and I think he's got the move done as well. Harry Asher cannot hang it around the outside, so Callum Poulter retakes the lead of the race as they head through the hairpin of turn 10, and they cannot be long left now in this race either. We might be heading on to the last lap of the race as well. Through the final corner they come, and Callum Poulter leads this race once more. Alexei Ivanov has now fallen behind David Selly, so David Selly is up into P5. And Harry Asher does not have a long left if he wants to retake this race win from Callum Poulter. Charlie Fenton last time around put in a 1:17.9, Tom Illingworth a 1:18.6, so Illingworth dropped about 7/10 of a second on that lap. We'll see what things look like this time round. Charlie Fenton a 1:18.2, a 1:18.1 for Illingworth. 9/10 between them. Couple of laps remaining. Still time for Tom Illingworth to take this heavyweight class win. Now, where is Asher and Poulter? There they are. Callum Poulter has pulled a few tenths clear of Harry Asher. So Callum Poulter has got his head down and has stretched a little lead to Harry Asher. And we are about to head on to the last lap of the race, which might be a relief for Callum Poulter, but it's going to be despair for Harry Asher because he knows that he needs to have the lap of his life because he needs to catch about 3/10 to Callum Poulter and then find a way through. The gap is 5/10 of a second. New personal best for Callum Poulter a 1:16.459, just 7,000 shy of Harry Asher's best lap time. Through turn 5 they go. Charlie Fenton still holding a reasonable gap to Tom Illingworth. As Poulter and Asher head down the hill towards turn 8. We haven't spoken much about Daniel Selly. He's been a little bit lonely. He's put in decent times, but has just been in a world of his own. Here comes Callum Poulter then into turn 9. Another good lap for Callum Poulter. Harry Asher is too far back to challenge Poulter. Callum Poulter then, he won the sprint race earlier on today. And it wasn't a flag to finish, but it has been a splendid, splendid battle. And Callum Poulter will win the feature race ahead of Harry Asher. 1 and 2 separated by 0.4 of a second. Daniel Sully will take a very good P3. And P4 is going to go the way of Adam Green. Alexei Ivanov put on a fantastic battle with David Selly. But in the end, David Selly has come out on top and will take P5 ahead of Alexei Ivanov. And then here comes Charlie Fenton in P7, just about ahead of Tom Illingworth, who had been reeling him in the latter portion of this race. But a little bit too late for Tom Illingworth, and Charlie Fenton seemingly had an answer for his pace. Charlie Fenton will win in the heavyweight class ahead of Tom Illingworth. And I believe Finley Anderson is also running in the heavyweight class and will take P3. Actually, I don't think he is in the heavyweight class, so it might be Harry Clifford who takes the final spot. So with that, that brings all of our racing today to a close. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, either trackside or over on YouTube. And just a reminder for everyone that you can watch these races back on YouTube, on the Milky Serial YouTube channel, or you can just search up Daytona Milton Keynes Season 3 Super Champs Round 1, and you should find it on the YouTube search. But thanks again, everyone, for tuning in, and for those drivers at the circuit, we'll see you in the pavilion for presentations shortly.